Usually, when a financial rebellion succeeds, you know exactly who's holding the bag and, well, who got sent to the guillotine.
Right, historically speaking.
Yeah. You storm the castle, you burn the fiat currency, and you build a new utopia. I mean, that was the pitch for cryptocurrency,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. A total subversion of the global banking order.
Exactly. But if you look at the ledger today, the revolutionaries aren't exactly running the show.
Not even close.
Welcome to a brand new deep dive, everyone. Today, we are jumping into a massive stack of sources, a really fascinating and frankly provocative collection of articles and notes that, well, they completely dismantle everything you probably think you know about crypto.
It's a pretty jarring reality check.
It really is. Our mission today is to cut through all the hype, all the jargon, the whole crypto bro noise. We want to give you, the listener, a look at the actual mechanics of this digital financial world without you feeling completely overwhelmed.
Because the disconnect between the narrative and the reality is just massive.
Right. And that brings us to the core paradox from our sources today. Bitcoin and crypto were pitched as this rebellion against banks and governments. Yet today, the ecosystem is utterly dominated by Wall Street giants like BlackRock, massive sovereign wealth funds, legacy institutional capital.
The very entities the system was designed to bypass are now the ones hoarding the asset.
How does a rebellion become the ultimate establishment asset? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's the ultimate paradox of decentralized finance, really.
Yeah.
The narrative of grassroots liberation has completely decoupled from the mechanical reality of the network.
Decoupled entirely.
Yeah, we're looking at an architecture that was explicitly marketed as a way to dismantle the establishment, which has instead become the most efficient vehicle for institutional capital consolidation we've seen in a century.
Which means the way we talk about this space is fundamentally broken. I mean, if you've ever tried holding a token through a weekend dip or watched a protocol completely change its monetary policy overnight, you've probably felt that disconnect.
Oh, definitely. And the sources point out that this cognitive dissonance comes down to a massive semantic trap surrounding one specific concept.
Decentralization.
Exactly. That word is the root of almost all retail investor casualties.
Wait, really? Just the word itself?
Yeah, because of how it's translated and interpreted. In early cypherpunk forums, and particularly as it propagated through international networks, specifically in Chinese networks, where the term is a kuzonga sinwa, decentralization, mutated into a synonym for sheer anarchy. There was this widespread assumption, often fueled by mistranslations and ideological marketing, that the end goal was a sort of cultural revolution 2.0.
So violently tearing down all centers of power. No governments, no banks, no centralized exchanges.
Right. Just a flat utopian landscape of peer-to-peer equivalence.
A sort of digital scorched earth policy. But if you look at the actual topology of any mature network, whether it's the routing nodes on the internet, the distribution of wealth in an economy, or even just biological ecosystems, nature abhors a flat hierarchy, right?
Absolutely. Nodes always cluster. Power laws take over.
You destroy one center and the capital and influence immediately flow into a new one.
Precisely. The true natural law of human civilization, from tribes to religions to nations, is that centers always exist. The actual objective of blockchain architecture isn't the eradication of centers.
It's not.
No, it's the optimization of them. The foundational philosophy is far better described by a term from the sources, quality centralization, or Yuzhizhongstinhua in Chinese.
Quality centralization. Okay, let's unpack this because that goes against everything you hear on Twitter. So it's not about burning down the casino.
Right.
It's about firing the corrupt, opaque pit bosses, putting the rules on a public bulletin board, and letting anyone with the ability audition for the job of running the tables.
That is a perfect analogy. It's an upgrade in governance, not an abolition of it. You're replacing corrupt, inferior centers with transparent, auditable rules where anyone can become a new center.
So you're shifting trust from a black box boardroom to an open source algorithm.
Exactly. And that brings us to Satoshi Nakamoto's original Bitcoin white paper. It's held up as this anarchist manifesto, but if you actually read it...
It's only 9 pages long, right?
Just 9 pages. And it doesn't even heavily feature the word decentralization.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. The focus isn't on destroying the state. The sources describe it as essentially a digital version of the U.S. Constitution.
A digital constitution.
Think about the function of a constitution. It doesn't eliminate power. It explicitly structures it to prevent monopolistic capture. It's a separation of powers.
So how does a 9-page PDF do that?
By encoding it in math. Satoshi's white paper achieves this through cryptography. You have a point-to-point network distributing the communication layer. You have cryptographic hashing securing the property rights, and a distributed timestamp server preventing anyone from rewriting history.
So it's an engineered gridlock, a system of checks and balances designed to prevent any single dictator from hijacking the ledger.
Exactly. It prevents dictatorial control.
This is so crucial for you, the listener, to understand. If you think crypto is a lawless, anti-government utopia, you are literally playing the wrong game. It is a system designed to build better centers, not eliminate them.
Which perfectly explains exactly how Bitcoin transitioned from an obscure cryptographic experiment to a multi-trillion-dollar asset class.
Right. The pricing power shifted. We saw this surprising fact in the sources. Bitcoin didn't go from zero to thousands of dollars because everyday people suddenly believed in it in massive numbers.
No, it surged because the pricing power shifted to Wall Street and institutional players.
It went from geeks giving it away for free on forums to governments and megafunds recognizing its value.
Because of its rigid mathematical constraints.
Yeah.
And the most important of those constraints is the supply cap and the halving.
Let's get into the mechanics of that rigidity, because the 21 million supply cap is brought up constantly, but it's the velocity of that issuance that actually dictates the whole market.
Right, the halving. It's the heartbeat of Bitcoin's macroeconomic influence. The protocol has hard-coded rules. Bitcoin is capped at 21 million. And every 210,000 blocks, the reward paid to miners is cut in half.
And how long does 210,000 blocks take?
Roughly every 4 years. The system dynamically adjusts to global hash rates to keep block times in about 10 minutes.
Okay, so the sources detailed this history. Can you walk us through the actual numbers?
Oh, sure. We started with 50 BTC per block in 2009.
Wow, 50 per 10 minute.
Yeah. Then it halved to 25 in 2012, down to 12.5 in 2016, then 6.25 in 2020, and most recently down to 3.125 in April 2024.
That absolute scarcity is its core value proposition. I mean, in traditional finance, if the price of gold skyrockets, mining companies deploy more capital, dig more mines, and flood the market with new supply.
Which brings the price back down.
Exactly. But if Bitcoin goes to $1 million tomorrow, the network does not produce a single fraction of a coin faster.
It is absolute inelastic scarcity. But this brings us to a massive flaw in the original anyone can mine dream.
Oh, right. The whole one CPU, one vote idea.
Yeah, the idealized cypherpunk vision where anyone could secure the network from their laptop in their dorm room. That dream is completely dead.
Because the cryptographic difficulty requires specialized hardware now, right?
Exactly. Application-specific integrated circuits, ASICs. Today, mining is an industrial arms race. It requires cheap energy, massive warehouses, and advanced semiconductor supply chains.
And the natural end state of an arms race is consolidation. You look at the hash rate distribution today, and it's heavily centralized.
Right. Mining pools like Foundry USA and Antpool routinely control somewhere between 70% to 80% of the total global computing power.
70 to 80%, that doesn't sound decentralized at all.
It's not, mechanically speaking. They aggregate the hash power of thousands of individual mining facilities. So you have massive industrial centers securing the base layer.
Which makes the base layer incredibly secure, but also incredibly slow and expensive. Which brings up the problem of actually buying things with Bitcoin.
Yes, the transaction problem.
If I want to buy a cup of coffee and the network is bogged down, the fees might be more than the coffee itself, and it takes 10 minutes to settle.
Which is why the market engineered a patch, the Lightning Network, launched back in 2018. It's a layer 2 scaling solution.
How does that work in practice?
Instead of broadcasting every transaction to the global slow ledger, it acts almost like a traditional bank. Two parties open a payment channel, lock up Bitcoin, and then they can batch thousands of transactions off-chain to lower the fees.
But to route payments efficiently across the globe without direct channels to everyone, the network inevitably relies on massive, well-capitalized routing nodes.
Exactly. It feels more centralized. Large financial entities or specialized liquidity providers become the massive hubs routing everyone's transactions.
Here's where it gets really interesting for the deep dive. We started with a system specifically designed to bypass banks, and we basically had to invent digital banks just to make the system usable for buying a cup of coffee.
Structurally, yes. But mechanically, there is one critical distinction the sources highlight. The Lightning Network is trustless.
Meaning what?
In the traditional banking system, if a bank freezes your funds or goes insolvent, your money is trapped. On Lightning, if a massive routing node goes offline or acts maliciously, Your money is still protected by the main chain's smart contracts.
You can just pull your true balance back to the Layer 1 blockchain.
Exactly. It is centralized routing, but trustless execution. The math remains the ultimate arbiter.
Okay, so the base layer math is sound. But the derivative market built on top of it, that is a financial slaughterhouse.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about the crypto casino. The sources highlight this terrifying statistic from late January, early February 2026, this great liquidation event.
Right. The numbers on this are staggering.
Over 420,000 people were liquidated in 24 hours.
Wiping out $2.5 billion in equity.
And dropping Bitcoin from its 126K peak down to the 73K range. A massive drawdown driven entirely by forced selling. Now, what triggered this?
The sources impartially list a few macro triggers. You had global geopolitical tensions escalating, causing a flight to safety.
Right.
And then there was the nomination of Kevin Warsh as Fed chair, which signaled tighter liquidity to the markets.
Tighter liquidity always hits risk-on assets first, but the macro data just provides the spark. The real slaughter happens because of the mechanics of perpetual contracts, right?
Yes, the structural plumbing of the market. Most retail investors, the sources refer to them as xiao bai or newbies, they aren't actually buying spot Bitcoin and putting it in cold storage.
They are trading high-leverage perpetual contracts on centralized exchanges.
Exactly. Let's say you want $60,000 of Bitcoin exposure. The exchange might let you put up to $6,000 as a down payment. That's 10x leverage.
Which sounds great on the way up. But if the spot price drops by a mere 10%,
your position is underwater. And the exchange's risk engine doesn't call you to ask for more collateral. It instantly seizes your $6,000 and market sells your position to protect itself.
you are liquidated in milliseconds. And when 420,000 people are all operating on high leverage, a 10% dip triggers an avalanche.
Because when the exchange market sells your position, it dumps that volume onto the order book, pushing the price down further, which triggers the guy leveraged 8x.
And then his liquidation triggers the guy at 5x. But it gets darker, right? The whale manipulation?
Yes. The sources describe the dark reality of the biquan, or the crypto circle. It's essentially an upgraded version of old crude oil electronic trading scams.
How so?
Because the market is highly asymmetric. The whales, the large institutional holders, and the centralized exchanges themselves have the data. They know exactly where the retail liquidations are clustered.
They can see the tripwires.
Precisely. They execute what's called pinpoint blasts, or chazan.
Pinpoint blast.
A well-capitalized entity will deliberately dump a large spot position onto the market during low liquidity. They intentionally drop the price just enough to trigger that cascade of retail liquidations. They swallow the margins, wait for the forced selling to flush out the system, and then they buy the actual asset back at a massive discount.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If you don't understand these mechanics, the funding rates, the leverage dynamics, you aren't an investor, you are the liquidity.
You are the yield.
You are the fuel for someone else's single-player game. It's brutal.
It is, which underscores how capital is extracted in the market. But looking at how capital is amassed when a coin is actually issued reveals who really controls the infrastructure.
Let's move to that, the three sides. We've got three highly specific case studies from the sources that show how issuing a coin, or fabi, actually works in practice.
These are fascinating examples of survival and failure.
And real quick, just to remind the listener, we are reporting these events impartially based purely on the provided text. We aren't endorsing or judging the political or moral viewpoints here. We just want to look at the mechanics.
Exactly. Just analyzing the structural games being played.
So, player one, Justin Sun, the survivor.
Right. This is a masterclass in jurisdictional arbitrage. The sources detail Sun's 2017 Tron ICO. He raised roughly $70 million just days before the Chinese government dropped a comprehensive ban on ICOs.
They categorize them as illegal fundraising, which is the ultimate systemic shock.
Most founders either fled or went to prison. But Sun survived because he navigated it perfectly. He refunded the initial issue price to investors within the jurisdiction, maintaining a baseline of not running away.
But Tron was already trading at a massive premium overseas, right?
Yes, so he kept massive profits from those overseas price discrepancies. He neutralized the immediate legal threat while keeping a massive war chest.
But money doesn't give you longevity unless the token has utility. And he turned Tron into a cheap, fast highway for USDT, making it a globally used tool.
He optimized for a specific economic friction. And the climax of his survival strategy is incredible. In 2023, the SEC sued him personally, alleging fraud and unregistered securities offerings.
Okay, so the U.S. regulators come after him. How does he get out of that?
In 2025, he invested $90 million into Trump's crypto project, WLFI.
$90 million.
And by March 6, 2026, the SEC dropped all charges against him personally, settling with his corporate entities for just $10 million.
Wait, really? Just $10 million?
That's what the sources report. It's the ultimate realization of quality centralization through bought legitimacy. He used his first pot of gold to buy diplomatic status and legal survival.
That is wild. Now let's contrast that with player 2, Teacher Lie. The Hunted. This is a totally different story.
Completely different.
Teacher Lie was a political influencer who launched a meme coin, Lie Dollars, to monetize a massive, politically sensitive following.
The assumption there is that social capital easily converts to financial capital, but it failed catastrophically.
Why? I mean, if you have millions of followers, shouldn't a coin launch be easy?
Because he was a marginalized center. He didn't have his own proprietary exchange or his own blockchain, so he was exposed to the dark forest of decentralized finance.
The dark forest. I love that term. What lives in the dark forest?
Apex predators. Specifically, MEV sandwich bots and professional whales. MEV stands for maximal extractable value.
Okay, how does a sandwich bot work?
When fans tried to buy the Lie Dollar token, their transactions went to the public mempool, basically a transparent waiting room before transactions are processed.
So anyone could just see my trade sitting there?
Yes, and sophisticated algorithms monitor this constantly. The bot detects a fan's large buy order, calculates the price impact, and then submits its own buy order with a higher fee to jump the line.
So the bot buys first, pushing the price up. The fan buys milliseconds later at the inflated price, pushing it higher, and then the bot instantly sells for a risk-free profit.
Exactly. The liquidity is systematically siphoned out. The coin collapsed almost immediately, resulting in a really messy partial appeasement refund.
It proves that trying to be decentralized without the power to enforce the rules just makes you pray for stronger centers. Influence does not equal infrastructure.
Which perfectly contextualizes player 3, Trump coin or WLFI, the toll booth.
Right. If Tron is infrastructure and Lotto Dollars is a failed social monetization, WLFI is pure power rent-seeking.
The white paper for WLFI is shockingly blunt. The sources point out that it promises zero economic return.
Zero return.
And it is initially non-transferable. You can't even trade it. Yet 75% of net revenues go directly to a company controlled by the Trump family.
Wait, if it has no return and you can't trade it, why would someone like Justin Sun buy $90 million worth?
Because it's the ultimate power rent-seeking tool. It essentially bypasses traditional campaign finance limits. It allows global whales to legally buy political insurance or protection directly from a powerful center.
It's a modernized, borderless mechanism for political financing. The token isn't the product. The proximity to power is the product.
Exactly.
So to survive this landscape, you have to realize that not all crypto is the same. You can't treat it as a homogeneous asset class. The sources break them down into 4 completely different games.
The taxonomy of coins, essentially.
Let's run through them. Number 1, Bitcoin, BTC.
We've touched on this. It's digital gold. It values absolute scarcity and extreme security over complex functionality. It's an ongoing experiment in what happens when a currency can never be inflated.
Right. Number 2, Ethereum, ETH.
Ethereum is fundamentally different. It is not a currency. It's a global computer.
So ETH is the gas or fuel to run smart contracts on that computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every decentralized exchange swap, every NFT mint requires gas. Its value is driven entirely by ecosystem prosperity, DeFi, NFTs, chain gaming.
Number 3, Dogecoin, DOGE, which, I mean, started as a literal joke.
It did, and its rules are the opposite of Bitcoin's. Dogecoin has infinite inflation. It prints 5 billion new coins a year. Mechanically, it should just bleed value.
So why is it worth billions?
Because it relies purely on community culture, emotional consensus, and the influence of quality centers like Elon Musk. It's the financialization of attention.
Which naturally leads to category 4, meme coins.
The sources provide a stark warning here. Meme coins have zero fundamentals, zero tech innovation. They are driven entirely by social media narratives and extreme emotions.
It's financialized nihilism.
It is a game of musical chairs. The entire objective is getting on before the emotional high and getting off before the inevitable crash leaves everyone else holding worthless tokens.
But if you have an ecosystem built on Bitcoin's rigid halvings, Ethereum's gas fluctuations, and meme coin volatility, how does anyone actually use this for daily commerce?
You can't. They're too volatile,
Yeah.
which is why the ecosystem invented the ultimate operational patch, the Trojan horse of the US dollar.
Stablecoins.
Yes. Assets like USDT and USDC, they act as a one-to-one anchor to the US dollar. You give the issuer a dollar, they hold it in reserve, and mint a digital token.
But the geopolitical impact of this is what's truly staggering. The sources explain how stablecoins are quietly reshaping the world.
Take countries with severe systemic inflation, Argentina, Turkey, Lebanon. Citizens there can't easily access physical US dollars. But anyone with a smartphone can download a wallet and hold USDT.
They use it to protect their wealth, effectively bypassing their local central banks entirely.
Which severely weakens the local government's monetary sovereignty. They lose control of their own economy because the wealth is migrated to a shadow dollar network.
And the benefit to the United States is massive. We saw this fascinating geopolitical reality in the text. Stablecoins are essentially allowing the US dollar to expand its global hegemony without the US government spending a single dime.
Private companies built the most efficient distribution network for the dollar in history. It places digital dollars in the hands of anyone globally.
But wait, isn't the whole point of crypto to be untraceable and anonymous? If I'm using a stablecoin, I'm off the grid, right?
The sources strongly refute this. That is the anonymity myth shattered. Stablecoins are actually the most transparent, easily traceable assets on Earth.
Really? How so?
Because every transaction is permanently on a public ledger. Firms like Chainalysis can track every single hop. To cash out, exchanges require strict KYC Know Your Customer verification.
Oh.
And most importantly, the ERC-20 smart contracts that govern these stablecoins contain explicitly coded administrative functions. The issuers Tether and Circle have the power to instantly freeze addresses and confiscate funds to comply with UK, EU, and US regulations.
So they can just turn off your money.
Instantly. They are essentially highly regulated quasi-banking tools operating on decentralized rails.
Wow. So we've come full circle. Let's wrap up this deep dive because the perspective shift here is massive. Cryptocurrency is not a magic portal to a world without rules or authorities.
Not at all.
It is a highly engineered digital reflection of our existing world. It's a system transitioning from the hands of idealists into the hands of institutional quality centers. It comes complete with whales, leverage traps, and intense geopolitical maneuvering.
The infrastructure is decentralized, but the power absolutely is not.
The ultimate lesson here for you, the listener. You cannot make money beyond your cognition. If you don't understand these rules, you are just the fuel for someone else's wealth generation. You have to understand the mechanics.
And looking forward, there is a final, highly provocative thought from the sources that builds on this whole concept of quality centralization.
Right. Let's leave them with something to chew on.
We've talked about how humans, whether Wall Street whales, politicians, or tech billionaires, inevitably become the new centers of these networks, bringing all their human flaws, greed, and political biases with them.
The human element is always the point of failure.
Exactly. But if the entire goal of the digital constitution was to replace flawed human trust with cold, hard, deterministic code, what happens in the near future when artificial intelligence becomes the dominant force interacting with these blockchains?
Oh, wow. AI agents operating on-chain.
Think about it. If an AI can process mempool data, execute complex smart contracts, and manage decentralized autonomous organizations perfectly, without greed, without fear, without human latency.
Will AI become the ultimate incorruptible quality center that Satoshi Nakamoto was looking for?
Or will it just be the ultimate inescapable scythe? An extraction engine mathematically stripping the remaining human participants of their yield with a precision we can't even perceive.
A perfectly engineered, automated throne, and we're just waiting to see what sits on it. That is a terrifying and brilliant thought to end on. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the consensus, and we'll see you next time.